My husband poured our daughter's ashes down the toilet, drained my new bank account, and texted, "Now we're even," while I was crying in a grocery store. When I finally opened up about everything he'd done, he smirked through the door and said, "You belong to me. Our daughter would be ashamed of you." I stayed silent. That was 4 months ago. Yesterday, he was screaming into a payphone while the FBI raided his house. My husband poured our daughter's ashes down the toilet and threw her urn at me, so I'm going to make him grieve our marriage too. I won't go into details here, but our daughter passed away suddenly last year. My husband and I both got therapy and tried to heal together, but his drinking has been spiraling out of control. I had a complete breakdown 2 months after we lost her and haven't been able to work since. In January, my husband started on his sobriety journey, but his business started to suffer. He took out a loan earlier this year, and I gave him the rest of my savings and started back at work. Things were going well with the business, and as well as they could have been for us, until he relapsed last month and was hiding it from me. Yesterday, I got home, and my husband was already home and was very hammered. He was in a very loud and out-of-control state, slamming around the house saying he was looking for something. I couldn't get much sense out of him, and he was really irate. I didn't know what to do, and when I tried to ask if he was okay, he got in my face and was quite aggressive with me. He randomly started to throw accusations at me, accusing me of all kinds of things that I have no idea where any of it came from. I was scared at that point and didn't want to be in the house with him. I hadn't seen him that angry before, and I think it was a buildup of grief that had come spilling out, but I felt scared. I put my shoes and coat on and told him I would head out for a while. That's when he snapped and accused me of trying to leave him. It all happened very suddenly, but he charged at me, got hold of my arm, threw me onto the floor, and pulled me down the hallway. At some point of drunkenly shouting about him not letting me leave him, he suddenly stopped and told me he was going to give me a reason to hate him so much. He stormed into the front room, took the urn with our daughter in, and headed to the downstairs toilet. I got up and tried to stop him from doing whatever he could. When he went towards the toilet, I tried to stop him and pleaded with him not to. He shoved me quite hard, and I fell. He poured all of the ashes into the toilet and threw her urn at me, hitting my leg. He then started yelling at me to get out before he deleted me. I was shaking and felt frozen, but I managed to get up and run to the front door. I took my keys and my handbag and drove off. I had no idea where to go, so I parked in a quiet area and cried. I have done practically nothing but cry since. I have no family around and no friends that I can turn to who are close by. I don't know what to do. He's tried to call me today, but I can't be around him while he is drinking again. Update: 2 months later. I wanted to let you know I'm safe and didn't return. I can't get into everything that has gone on with my husband, as the police have been involved, and some of it is ongoing. He played games and acted calm and collected with them initially, trying to make out that he hadn't done anything wrong and that I was the problem. He told them that I was welcome home at any time. A couple of things happened, and after I received some very threatening voice messages and texts from him, he reported my phone as stolen and had me cut off. He was trying to make me go home and have nowhere else to turn to. After some intervention and run-ins with the police, he offered to leave the house for a couple of days a few weeks ago. I was to go there with some help, allowing me to get my belongings and our daughter's things. Nobody asked him to leave. He offered. I arrived there with some help to find that he had destroyed all of my things. When I say all of my things, I mean everything that I owned and that was in that house. I can't even imagine how long it must have taken him. He sliced my shoes and had gone over some of them in black marker, the same with my handbags. He cut up my clothes. All of my products were all over the bathroom, which he had smashed up. There were items of my clothes in the bath and he had poured bleach all over them, as well as my cosmetics all destroyed and mixed in. He had smashed up, broken my other belongings. He had trashed the house, including our daughter's room. The only things I couldn't find were some of the things he had taken with him. He has claimed he doesn't remember doing any of it. He then put it down to a drunken rage. After doing it, he went straight over to his parents, knowing what was coming, and pleaded with them for help. They arranged for him to get some private help. After talking through things with various professionals, I also realized that there was a lot of control going on, financial and emotional. No matter how much he hurt, I know it doesn't excuse his behavior. However much I have felt for him and wanted him to get all of the help he needs, I can't see past what he did with our daughter's ashes. I felt like I lost her all over again. His parents reached out and promised they would get back the things of our daughters he took. I'm not sure where things will go from here. Update: I was just starting to rebuild my life when I got a call from my bank this morning. Somehow my husband had gained access to my new accounts and nearly drained all my savings. When I tried to call him, he didn't answer and just sent me a text that said, "Now we're even." I stared at my phone screen, my hands trembling as I read his message again. Now we're even. The words burned into my mind while I stood in the middle of the grocery store, frozen next to the cereal aisle. The cashier at the self-checkout kept glancing over at me, probably wondering why I'd been standing there for 5 minutes without moving. My savings account showed $47.23. That was it. Everything I'd managed to scrape together over the past 2 months, gone. The money I'd been carefully saving for a deposit on a new apartment, the emergency fund I'd started building, even the small amount I'd set aside for therapy sessions, all of it vanished overnight. I abandoned my half-filled basket and walked out to my car, my legs feeling like they might give out at any moment. Once inside, I called the bank again, hoping maybe there had been some mistake. The representative confirmed what I already knew. Multiple transfers had been made in the early morning hours, all authorized with my security information. But I didn't make these transfers, I said, my voice cracking. Someone else accessed my account. I understand your concern concern, ma'am, but the transfers were completed using your login credentials and security questions. Without evidence of unauthorized access, we can't reverse the transactions. I hung up and immediately called my lawyer. She picked up on the third ring. He got into my bank accounts, I said without preamble. Took almost everything. There was a pause. How much? Over $8,000. It's everything I had left. Did you share your banking information with him at any point during your marriage? I thought back to all the years we'd been together. Maybe? I mean, we were married. We shared everything, but I changed all my passwords after I left. Security questions? My heart sank. Of course, the security questions. Mother's maiden name, first pet's name, city where we met, all things he would know. I'll add this to the file, she said, but recovering the money might be difficult if he used your actual security information. After hanging up, I sat in my car for another 20 minutes, trying to figure out my next move. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. My stomach dropped when I read it. Bet you're wishing you'd just come home when you had the chance. AA for after. Even though he'd been blocked on my regular number, he'd found another way to reach me. I screenshot the message and forwarded it to my lawyer before blocking this number too. I drove back to Margaret's house, where I'd been staying since everything happened. She was my coworker who'd offered me her spare room when she found out I'd been sleeping in my car. As I pulled into her driveway, I noticed a familiar car parked across the street, my husband's friend Cole's red pickup truck. My hands fumbled with my phone as I called Margaret. Don't come outside, I said when she answered. Cole's truck is across the street. I'll call the police, she said immediately. No, wait, I thought quickly. If Cole was here, it meant After knew where I was staying. Let me just see what happens. Maybe he's just trying to scare me. I stayed in my locked car, watching the truck. After about 10 minutes, Cole got out and walked up to Margaret's front door. He knocked loudly, and I could see Margaret peeking through the curtains. She didn't answer. Cole knocked again, harder this time. I know she's in there, he shouted. After just wants to talk to his wife. Margaret appeared at the door but kept the chain on. I couldn't hear what she said, but Cole's response was loud enough to reach me in the car. She's being dramatic. He's getting help. She needs to stop this nonsense and come home where she belongs. Margaret said something else and closed the door. Cole stood there for another moment before walking back to his truck, but instead of leaving, he got in and stayed parked. I called my lawyer again. They found where I'm staying. His friend is sitting outside the house. Document everything. Take photos of the vehicle, note the time, and if he makes any contact, record it if possible. This is harassment. I took several photos of Cole's truck, making sure to get the license plate. He sat there for another hour before finally driving away, but I knew this wasn't over. That evening, Margaret and I sat at her kitchen table trying to figure out next steps. You can't stay here anymore, she said gently. If they know where you are, I know. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache building. But with my accounts drained, I don't have money for a hotel. What about your parents? They live 3 states away, and honestly, I haven't told them everything. They still think After and I are just having a rough patch. Margaret reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You need to tell them. You need support. She was right, but the thought of explaining everything to my parents felt overwhelming. How could I tell them their son-in-law, the man they'd welcomed into our family, had destroyed their granddaughter's ashes? How could I explain that I'd lost everything? My phone rang, showing a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered, "Hello? Is this a void?" The voice was female, older. Who is this? This is After's mother. We need to talk. I put the phone on speaker so Margaret could hear. What do you want? I want to help you, dear. What my son did. It's not right. Can we meet? Every instinct screamed that this was a trap. I don't think that's a good idea. I have your daughter's things, the items After took from the house. I've been keeping them safe for you. My breath caught. The photo albums, her favorite stuffed elephant, the blanket I'd knitted for her when she was born, all the irreplaceable things I thought were gone forever. How do I know you really have them? The purple elephant is named Mr. Peanuts. The photo album has a picture of her first birthday on the cover. The blanket is yellow and green with little ducks on it. Tears stung my eyes. She really did have them. Please, she continued, let me help make this right. Meet me tomorrow at the coffee shop on Main Street. Public place, lots of people around. Just hear me out. I looked at Margaret, who was shaking her head vigorously. I'll think about it, I said, and hung up. You can't seriously be considering this, Margaret said. She has my daughter's things. It's a trap. After is probably going to be there waiting. I knew she was probably right, but the thought of getting those items back was overwhelming. They were all I had left of my baby girl. That night, I barely slept. Every car that drove by made me jump. Every sound had me checking the locks. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed with another unknown number. You should have taken my mom's offer. Now things get harder. So it had been a trap. I screenshot this message too, building my file of evidence. But evidence for what? The police had been minimally helpful so far, saying that without physical violence or explicit threats, there wasn't much they could do about marital disputes. The next morning, I woke to find my car tires slashed, all 4 of them. Margaret's security camera had conveniently malfunctioned during the night, so there was no footage. When the police came, they took a report but said without evidence, they couldn't prove who did it. Maybe it was random vandalism, the officer suggested, though we all knew better. The tow truck driver who came to help shook his head as he looked at the damage. Someone was angry, he said. These cuts are deep, deliberate. Whoever did this wanted to make sure these tires couldn't be patched. 4 new tires cost money I didn't have. Margaret generously offered to help, but I couldn't keep taking from her. She'd already done so much. While waiting for the repairs, I finally called my parents. My mom answered on the second ring. A void. We've been wondering when you'd call. How are you and after doing? Mom, I started, then the words just tumbled out. Everything. The drinking, the violence, what he'd done with the ashes, the destroyed belongings, the drained bank accounts, the harassment. The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought we'd been disconnected. Mom, pack what you have left, she said, her voice steel. We're coming to get you. Mom, you don't have to. We're coming. Your father and I will be there by tonight. Relief flooded through me, but even as I felt grateful for their support, I worried about dragging them into this mess. That afternoon, while Margaret was at work and I was alone in the house packing my few remaining belongings, there was a knock at the door. I looked through the peephole to see a woman I didn't recognize holding a clipboard. Yes? I called through the door. I'm from the insurance company. About your car damage claim? I hadn't filed an insurance claim yet. My heart racing, I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, staying silent by the door. The woman knocked again. I know you're in there, Avoid. After just wants to know you're okay. I whispered to the 911 operator about the situation. They promised to send someone immediately. The woman continued talking through the door. He's really sorry about everything. He's getting help. He loves you. He just wants his wife back. I recorded her on my phone, documenting everything. She stayed for another 5 minutes, alternating between pleading and vaguely threatening statements about how this would all be easier if you just talked to him. When the police arrived, she was gone. They took my statement and the recording, adding it to the growing file, but I could see in their eyes they thought I was overreacting. My parents arrived that evening, my dad's truck pulling into Margaret's driveway just as the sun was setting. My mom was out of the vehicle before it fully stopped, wrapping me in a hug that made me break down completely. We're taking you home, she said firmly, tonight. As we loaded my few bags into their truck, Cole's red pickup appeared again at the end of the street. My dad noticed it too. Friend of yours? He asked. After's friend. He's been watching the house. My dad, all 6 feet 2 inches of him, walked directly toward the truck. I couldn't hear what he said to Cole, but within minutes, the truck was speeding away. What did you say to him? I asked when he came back. Just introduced myself, Dad said mildly, and explained that harassment is a crime. We left within the hour, Margaret hugging me goodbye and promising to stay in touch. As we drove away, I felt a mix of relief and fear. Relief to be getting away, fear that after would find me again. The drive to my parents' house took 8 hours. We stopped only for gas and bathroom breaks, my dad constantly checking the mirrors for anyone following us. About halfway there, my phone rang with yet another unknown number. This time it was after himself. Where are you? He demanded when I answered. Away from you. You can't just disappear. We're married. You're my wife. Not for much longer. If you don't come back, I'll make sure you regret it. You think the bank account was bad? That was just the beginning. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you. You belong with me. Our daughter would be ashamed of how you're acting. The cruelty of invoking our daughter made my blood boil. Our daughter whose ashes you flushed down the toilet? I don't remember that. I was hammered. It doesn't count. I hung up and blocked the number, but my hands were shaking. My mom reached back from the front seat and held my hand. We're going to get through this, she said. All of us, together. As we crossed state lines, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Hope. It was small, fragile, but it was there. After had taken so much from me. Our daughter's ashes, my belongings, my money, my sense of safety. But he hadn't taken everything. I still had people who loved me. I still had the strength to fight back. And most importantly, I still had the memory of my daughter, which no amount of his cruelty could destroy. The road ahead would be difficult. There would be divorce proceedings, possible criminal charges, and the long process of rebuilding my life. But for the first time since that horrible night when he destroyed the last physical remains of our baby, I believed I could do it. As we pulled into my parents' driveway, I saw my childhood home lit up warmly in the darkness. My phone buzzed with one final message from an unknown number. This isn't over. I deleted it without screenshotting. I was done collecting evidence, done playing his games. Tomorrow, I would call my lawyer and start the process of legally severing ties. Tonight, I was safe. My dad carried my bags inside while my mom made tea. We sat around their kitchen table, the same one where I'd done homework as a child, where I'd told them I was pregnant, where we'd cried together after losing her. Thank you, I said simply. You never have to thank us for protecting you, my dad said. That's what family does. As I lay in my childhood bed that night, I thought about the long journey ahead. After would continue his harassment, I was sure of it. He would try new tactics, new ways to control and hurt me, but I wasn't alone anymore. I had support, love, and the determination to rebuild. The story was far from over, but this chapter, the one where I was his victim, was coming to an end. The next chapter would be different. In the next chapter, I would fight back. The next morning, I woke to 37 missed calls from unknown numbers. My phone had been on silent, but the screen showed notification after notification. Each voicemail was either silence or heavy breathing. I deleted them all without listening fully, but the pattern was clear. After wasn't giving up. My mom made breakfast while Dad installed new locks on all the doors. Can't be too careful, he said, testing each deadbolt twice. I watched him work, grateful for their protection, but worried about what I'd brought to their doorstep. Around noon, Margaret called. Her voice sounded strained. Avoid, I need to tell you something. After came by the house this morning. My stomach dropped. Are you okay? I'm fine, but he was aggressive, demanding to know where you went. When I wouldn't tell him, he said I'd regret helping you. Then he mentioned something about my kids. Margaret, I'm so sorry. I never meant to. Stop. This isn't your fault, but I wanted you to know. I've already talked to my ex-husband about keeping the kids with him for a while. After I hung up, guilt washed over me. Margaret had only tried to help, and now after was targeting her. I told my parents what happened. happened, and Dad's jaw tightened. He's escalating, Mom said quietly. We need to be prepared. That afternoon, while my parents were at the grocery store, I heard a car pull into the driveway. Looking out the window, I saw a delivery truck. The driver approached with a large box, and something felt wrong. We hadn't ordered anything. I didn't answer the door. Instead, I watched through the peephole as the driver knocked repeatedly. Finally, he left the package on the porch and drove away. I waited 20 minutes before calling my dad. Don't touch it, he said immediately. We'll handle it when we get home. When they returned, Dad carefully examined the package from a distance. There was no return address, just my name written in familiar handwriting, After's handwriting. Should we call the police? Mom asked. Dad shook his head. They'll just say it's a package from her husband. Not illegal. Using gloves, he opened it outside while Mom and I watched from the doorway. Inside were photos, dozens of them, all pictures of our daughter, but each one had been defaced, her face scratched out, horrible words written across them. At the bottom was a note. You made me do this. Come home and I'll stop. I collapsed onto the porch steps, sobbing. Those photos were copies of ones I thought were safe, ones from happier times. Seeing them destroyed felt like losing her all over again. Mom gathered up the photos while Dad documented everything with his phone. We're keeping evidence, he said grimly. This is harassment, whether the police want to acknowledge it or not. That evening, my phone rang with my lawyer's number. Relief flooded through me until I heard the voice on the other end. Hello, avoid. It was After. Surprised? Your lawyer's been very helpful. Told me all about your plans when I explained how worried I was about my wife's mental state. How did you? Amazing what people will tell a concerned husband. Did you know she thinks you're having a breakdown? That maybe you need help? I assured her I just want what's best for you. The line went dead. I immediately tried calling my lawyer back, but the calls went straight to voicemail. My hands shook as I realized what this meant. He'd somehow manipulated her, twisted the situation. I was losing my legal support. We'll find you a new lawyer, Mom said, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Good lawyers cost money I didn't have. The next few days passed in tense quiet. Dad installed security cameras while Mom helped me research lawyers. We found one who would take my case, but she needed a retainer I couldn't afford. My parents offered to help, but they'd already done so much. On the fourth night, I woke to the sound of breaking glass. Dad was already moving, baseball bat in hand, while Mom called 911. We found the living room window shattered, a brick lying among the glass shards. Tied to it was another note. Running won't save you. The police actually came this time, taking photos and statements. But once again, without proof of who threw it, they could only file a report. The officer suggested we consider getting a restraining order, as if I hadn't already tried. Ma'am, without evidence that your husband did this, who else would it be? Dad interrupted. You have the notes, the harassment, the pattern of behavior. The officer shrugged. Could be anyone. Maybe someone who doesn't like you folks. These things happen. After they left, we sat in the kitchen, glass still glittering on the living room floor. He's not going to stop, I said quietly. He'll keep escalating until nothing, Dad said firmly. We protect our own. But I could see the strain on both of them. They were in their 60s, retired, living on a fixed income. They shouldn't have to deal with this. The next morning, Mom's friend from church called. I thought you should know, she said carefully. There's a man who's been asking about you folks around town. Says he's a family friend, looking to reconnect. Described your daughter perfectly. So After had found us, or sent someone to find us. The safety I'd felt being 3 states away evaporated. We need to be smarter, Dad said after hearing the news. Can't just react anymore. He was right. I'd been running, hiding, reacting to each new attack. But After knew me too well, knew how I'd respond. I needed to change the pattern. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in months. I called our old friend group. Most didn't answer, but Sarah did. Avoid? Oh my God, I've been so worried. After said you had a breakdown and disappeared. Sarah, I need you to listen carefully. Whatever After told you isn't true. I explained everything, keeping my voice steady despite the pain of reliving it. The silence stretched long before she spoke. He flushed her ashes, but he told us you lost them, that you were so distraught you couldn't remember where you put the urn. He's been lying to everyone. Oh, Avoid, I'm so sorry. We all believed him. He seemed so concerned, so heartbroken about you leaving. One by one, I called others. Some believed me immediately, horrified by what they'd been supporting. Others were skeptical, After's manipulation running deep. But word would spread. His carefully crafted image would crack. That evening, After's mother called again. This time I answered. I know you don't trust me, she said immediately, but I need you to know something. My son, he's not well. He's been planning something. I overheard him talking to Cole. Planning what? I don't know exactly, but he mentioned your parents' address. Said something about making sure you had nowhere left to run. My blood ran cold. Why are you telling me this? Because what he did to my granddaughter's ashes. I can't forgive that. I can't stand by anymore. Her voice broke. I have those items I mentioned. I'll mail them to you. The real ones. Not whatever trap my son was planning. After she hung up, I shared the conversation with my parents. Dad's face darkened. If he comes here, he won't come himself, I interrupted. He'll send others. That's his pattern. Always keeping his hands clean. Then we need to be ready for others, Mom said practically. The next 2 days were quiet. Too quiet. I helped Mom with her garden, trying to find normal moments in the chaos. Dad spent time reinforcing doors and windows, preparing for possibilities none of us wanted to voice. On the third morning, a package arrived. This time, Dad recognized his mother's handwriting. Inside, carefully wrapped, were my daughter's things. Her purple elephant, the photo album, the blanket I'd made, all intact, all real. I held them and cried while my parents parents stood guard, watching for any sign of danger, but the peace didn't last. That afternoon, Cole's truck appeared on our street, then another car I didn't recognize. They parked at opposite ends of the block, engines running. "Don't go outside," Dad ordered, already on the phone with police. The cars sat there for hours. Technically, they weren't doing anything illegal, just parking on a public street, but we all knew what this was: intimidation, a reminder that after could reach us anywhere. As darkness fell, more cars arrived. 4, then 5, then 6, all with people just sitting, watching our house. Mom closed all the curtains while Dad checked his hunting rifle. "This is psychological warfare," Mom said quietly. "He wants us scared, reactive." She was right, but knowing that didn't make it less effective. We were trapped in our own home, under siege by people who technically weren't breaking any laws. Around midnight, they all left at once. The sudden absence of threat was almost worse than their presence. What were they planning? The answer came the next morning. Dad went to get the newspaper and found our front yard destroyed, plants uprooted, Mom's garden trampled, obscenities spray painted on the driveway. But the worst part was the sign stuck in the middle of the lawn: "Give me back my wife." This time, the police took it more seriously. The property damage was extensive, impossible to dismiss as coincidence. They took photos, interviewed neighbors, but once again, no one had seen anything. "Funny how that works," the officer muttered, clearly frustrated. "6 cars here last night and nobody saw who did this?" Fear was spreading through the neighborhood. After's campaign wasn't just affecting us anymore. Mom's friend from church called to say she couldn't visit anymore. Too dangerous. The elderly couple next door started looking at us with suspicion, wondering what we'd brought to their quiet street. "Maybe I should leave," I said that night. "If I'm not here?" "Absolutely not," Mom interrupted. "That's what he wants. To isolate you, make you run until you have nowhere left to go but back to him." She was right, but the guilt ate at me. They'd worked so hard for their peaceful retirement, and I'd brought chaos to their door. The next day, I decided to take action. I couldn't keep letting after control the narrative. I started documenting everything online, creating a detailed timeline of events, photos of the damage, screenshots of messages, recordings of voicemails. If the legal system wouldn't help, maybe public pressure would. The response was immediate. Some people offered support, sharing their own stories of abuse. Others, clearly After's friends, attacked me for airing dirty laundry and trying to destroy a good man. But then something unexpected happened. A woman named Claire messaged me privately. "I dated After in college," she wrote. "What you're describing, it's exactly what he did to me. I have proof." We talked for hours. She'd kept journals, emails, even a police report from when he'd vandalized her car after she broke up with him. The pattern was identical: escalating control, destruction of property, manipulation of friends, stalking. "I never spoke up," she said. "He convinced everyone I was crazy, that I'd cheated on him. I just wanted to move on. But seeing your story, I can't stay quiet anymore." With her permission, I added her evidence to my documentation. Others came forward too. A coworker he'd harassed, a neighbor who'd witnessed his rages. Slowly, a pattern emerged that couldn't be dismissed as one crazy wife's accusations. After must have seen the posts because the harassment intensified. Dead animals started appearing on our porch. Our mail was stolen repeatedly. Dad's truck tires were slashed while he was at the hardware store. But something had shifted. The police started taking us more seriously, with multiple victims speaking up. A detective was assigned to our case, one who actually seemed to care. "This level of stalking and harassment across multiple victims, it's criminal," she said, reviewing the evidence. "We're building a case." Hope flickered again, but I knew After wouldn't go down without a fight. He'd spent years perfecting his image as the grieving father, the concerned husband. That image was cracking, but desperate people do desperate things. The climax came on a Tuesday morning. I was alone, my parents at a doctor's appointment. I'd assured them I'd be fine for a few hours. The house was locked, cameras rolling, phone in my hand. Then the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. Professional clothes, kind face, holding what looked like official documents. "Mrs. Avoid, I'm from Adult Protective Services. We've received concerning reports about your mental state and need to do a welfare check." My heart raced. This was a new tactic. I didn't open the door. "I'm fine," I called out. "Please leave. I'm afraid I need to see you in person. Your husband is very worried. He says you've been having delusions, that you might hurt yourself." I started recording on my phone. "I'm not opening the door. You can leave your card and I'll contact your office directly." Her demeanor shifted slightly. "This would be much easier if you just cooperated. Your husband only wants to help you get the treatment you need. Leave now or I'm calling the police." She lingered for another moment before walking away. I immediately called the Real Adult Protective Services. They had no record of sending anyone to our address. When my parents returned, I was shaking. After had sent someone posing as a government official. If I'd opened that door. "That's it," Dad said. "This ends now." But I knew it wouldn't end until After decided it would, or until something forced his hand. We were at an impasse, each side waiting for the other to make a mistake. That night, as we sat around the dinner table trying to pretend things were normal, my phone buzzed with a message from Claire. "Check the news," was all it said. I pulled up the local news from my old town. The headline made my breath catch. "Local businessman arrested for harassment and stalking." But it wasn't about me. Another woman had come forward. Someone After had been secretly terrorizing while publicly playing the victim. She had recordings, videos, undeniable proof of of his behavior. The police had arrested him that afternoon. My phone immediately started ringing. Unknown numbers I didn't answer. Then my lawyer, the new one, called. "He's been arrested," she said without preamble. "Multiple charges. And with the evidence we've compiled, more charges are likely coming." Relief flooded through me, but it was tempered with caution. An arrest wasn't a conviction, and after had wiggled out of consequences before. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we make sure he stays away, permanently." As I hung up, I looked at my parents. They'd aged years in the weeks I'd been with them, stress etching new lines on their faces. But they smiled now, hope replacing fear. "It's not over," I warned. "He'll post bail, But now the system is watching," Mom interrupted. "He can't operate in the shadows anymore." She was right. The spotlight was on after now. Every move he made would be scrutinized. The other victims coming forward had changed everything. That night, for the first time in months, I slept without fear. My daughter's belongings safe beside me, my parents keeping watch, and somewhere across 3 states, After was behind bars. The war wasn't over. There would be court dates, testimonies, attempts at manipulation, but the tide had turned. I wasn't running anymore. I wasn't alone anymore. And most importantly, I wasn't his victim anymore. The morning after After's arrest, I woke to my phone vibrating nonstop. Sarah had texted 12 times, each message more frantic than the last. The final one made my blood run cold. After posted bail. "He's looking for you. His brother is helping him." I hadn't even known After had a brother. In all our years together, he'd mentioned having siblings but claimed they were estranged. Another lie, apparently. Dad was already awake, coffee in hand, reading something on his tablet. His expression darkened as he looked up at me. "The arrest made the local paper's website," he said, turning the screen toward me. "Comment section is active." I scanned through them quickly. After's supporters were out in force, painting him as a grieving father pushed too far by an unstable wife. But there were others too, people sharing their own experiences with him. The truth was spreading, but slowly. Mom appeared in the doorway, her face pale. "There's a car parked down the street, been there since dawn, blue sedan, tinted windows." We all moved to the living room window, careful to stay behind the curtains. The car sat motionless, engine off, but I could make out a figure in the driver's seat. "Could be anyone," Dad said, but his hand moved to his phone. Before he could dial, the car started and pulled away slowly. Too slowly, like they wanted us to know they'd been watching. 20 minutes later, Claire called. Her voice was shaking. "Someone broke into my apartment last night. Nothing stolen, but they went through everything. Left a note on my pillow that said, 'Stop talking.'" My stomach churned. After was mobilizing his network, trying to silence everyone who'd spoken against him. "Did you call the police? They're here now, but avoid. I'm scared. I didn't sign up for this level of..." The line went dead. I tried calling back but got nothing. My hands trembled as I looked at my parents. "He's going after everyone who helped me," I said. Dad's jaw set. "Then we need to act fast. Can't just sit here waiting for his next move." But what could we do? After had resources, connections, and clearly more allies than I'd known about. We had evidence and truth, but that hadn't been enough so far. The detective assigned to our case called an hour later. "Mr. After made bail this morning. Conditions include no contact with you, but he's already violating that through proxies," I interrupted. "Without proof, our hands are tied. However, we're building a solid case. Multiple victims have come forward since the arrest. This is bigger than just your situation now." After she hung up, I felt a mix of hope and dread. More victims meant a stronger case, but it also meant After had hurt more people than I'd imagined. Margaret texted that afternoon. "Strange man came to my work asking about you. Security escorted him out. Please be careful." The intimidation campaign was expanding. After couldn't reach me directly, so he was targeting everyone in my orbit. Classic isolation tactics, but more aggressive than before. That evening, Mom's church friend called with disturbing news. "That man asking about you? He's been approaching other church members, offering money for information about where you're staying." "How much?" Dad asked when I put her on speaker. $5,000, cash. Some folks are struggling financially, and that kind of money. We exchanged worried looks. Money could buy a lot of loyalty in a small town where people were hurting. The next morning brought a new crisis. Dad went to start his truck and found sugar in the gas tank. The engine was ruined. No cameras had caught who did it, of course. "This is getting expensive," Mom said quietly as we waited for the tow truck. "First the windows, now this." I knew what she wasn't saying. My parents lived on a fixed income. These repairs were draining their savings. After was bleeding them financially. Another form of pressure. While Dad dealt with the truck, I received an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "You need to see this." Against my better judgment, I opened it. Inside was a video file. My finger hovered over the play button before clicking. It was security footage from a parking garage. After was there, talking to someone obscured by shadows. Money changed hands. Then the figure stepped into the light, and I gasped. It was my lawyer, my first lawyer, the one who'd suddenly become unreachable. She was taking an envelope thick with cash from After. The video ended with a message. "He bought her. He's buying others. Trust no one." A friend. Who was this friend? Why were they helping me? I forwarded the video to the detective immediately. She called back within minutes. "This is significant. If we can verify this footage, it's evidence of witness tampering, bribery, serious charges. Finally, something concrete." But I wondered about our mysterious benefactor. Who had access to this footage? Who was watching After closely enough to catch this? That afternoon, while Mom was at the grocery store and Dad was dealing with insurance for his truck, I noticed movement in the backyard. Someone was by the back fence, partially hidden by the shed. I grabbed my phone, ready to call 911, when the figure stepped into view. It was a woman, maybe 40, with tired eyes and nervous movements. She held up her hands, showing they were empty. Moving carefully to the back door, I called out, "Who are you?" "My name is Nicole," she said. "I was married to After's brother. I need to talk to you, please." Every instinct screamed danger, but something in her expression made me pause. "Talk from there." She nodded, understanding my caution. "After destroyed my marriage. His brother Nicholas. He worships After, does whatever he says. When I tried to leave Nicholas, After got involved, made my life hell until I gave up and disappeared. Why are you here now?" "Because I heard what he did to your daughter's ashes. I have a daughter too." That crossed a line even I didn't think he'd cross. She pulled out a flash drive. "This has recordings. Nicholas talking to After, planning things. I've been documenting for years, hoping someday it would matter." She set the drive on the porch railing and backed away. "There's enough there to bury them both, but be careful. They know I'm in town. I'm leaving tonight, going back into hiding. But I couldn't leave without giving you this." Before I could respond, she was gone, disappearing through the back gate. I stared at the flash drive, this tiny object that might change everything. When my parents returned, I showed them what Nicole had left. Dad immediately made copies, hiding them in different locations. "Can't be too careful," he said. We listened to some of the recordings together. Nicholas's voice was chillingly similar to After's, but younger, more eager to please. The conversations were damning. Plans to harass After's ex-girlfriends, discussions about hiding money, strategies for manipulating police and lawyers. "This is it," Mom breathed. "This could end it." But even as hope bloomed, I worried. Nicole had lived in hiding for years because of these men. What would they do when cornered? The answer came at 3 a.m. Dad's new security system started blaring. Multiple figures were in our yard, moving fast. Dad grabbed his baseball bat while Mom called 911. Through the cameras, we watched 4 men spray painting the house, slashing the new tires on Mom's car, destroying everything they could reach. They worked efficiently, obviously planned. 5 minutes for police response, Mom reported, still on the phone. But the men were already leaving, piling into a van and speeding off. The damage was done. Our house looked like a disaster zone. Paint spelled out vicious messages across every wall. Mom's garden was completely destroyed, salt poured into the soil so nothing would grow again. When the police arrived, I recognized one of the attackers from the security footage. "That's Nicholas," I said, pointing to the screen. "After's brother." This time, with clear footage and identifiable suspects, the police had to act. Within hours, Nicholas was arrested along with 2 others. The 4th man remained unidentified. The detective called with updates throughout the day. "Nicholas is talking, trying to pin everything on After, saying he was just following orders. It's actually helping our case." But After himself remained free, his lawyer arguing he had no knowledge of his brother's actions. The legal system moved slowly while the harassment continued. Claire finally called back, her voice stronger. "I'm pressing charges. So are 3 other women After targeted. We're not backing down." The tide was turning, but After grew more desperate. My parents received notices that their homeowner's insurance was being canceled due to excessive claims. Their car insurance followed suit. After was using every connection, every tool to make our lives miserable. "We could lose the house," Mom admitted quietly one evening. "If something else happens and we're not insured." The weight of what I'd brought to their door crushed me. They'd worked their whole lives for this modest home, this quiet retirement. Now it was all at risk because of me. That's when the detective called with unexpected news. "The FBI is taking over the case. The bribery, the interstate harassment, the conspiracy charges, it's beyond local jurisdiction now. FBI." The word should have brought relief, but it meant After had escalated beyond anything I'd imagined. This wasn't just a bad divorce anymore. It was a federal case. 2 agents came to interview us the next day. They were thorough, professional, and surprisingly reassuring. "Mr. After has been on our radar," one agent explained. "This isn't his first interstate harassment campaign. With the evidence you've provided, especially those recordings, we're building a RICO case. Racketeering charges. My estranged husband wasn't just an abusive hammered anymore. He was the head of a criminal organization." The next few days blurred together. More interviews, more evidence gathering, more security measures. My parents' house became a fortress, agents periodically checking in. Then, on a Thursday morning, it happened. The FBI executed simultaneous raids on After, his business, his parents' home, and several associates. The arrest was clean, efficient, and this time, bail was denied. "Flight risk and danger to witnesses," the detective explained. "He's not getting out this time." The relief was overwhelming, but it wasn't over. There would be trials, testimonies, the long process of justice. After's network was dismantled, but the damage he'd done remained. Mom's garden was destroyed. Dad's truck needed a new engine. Their insurance situation was still precarious. The financial and emotional toll was staggering. But that evening, as we sat around the kitchen table, something had changed. The constant fear was gone. No more checking windows, jumping at every car sound, wondering what fresh hell would arrive next. "We survived," Dad said simply. "All of us." Mom reached over and squeezed my hand. Family protects family, always. The months ahead would be challenging. Court dates, therapy, rebuilding. But After was behind bars, his network dismantled, his power broken. The other victims and I would testify, ensuring he faced justice for everything he'd done. As I held my daughter's recovered belongings that night, I whispered a promise to her memory. Her ashes were gone forever, but her mother had fought back. Her mother had won. The war was over. The rebuilding could finally begin.